Travis Minguzzo. So, conference is over, and so are my views. They took a nosedive later that evening, last night. And so, as I had informed those of you who watch on a regular basis, or if you came to the one and only video where I discussed it, I was evicted back in June. That's where I am now, is Men's Resource Center. And I had connected the eviction to the church with the financial documents, receipts, and other documents and evidence. And so I didn't just take it. I filed a counterclaim. That counterclaim has been stayed. And it's been stayed for a long time. But it's because of the seriousness of the crimes that I've presented in the counterclaim. And so, as a result of conference, which I had warned the investigators in advance that they needed to shut down the church, otherwise they were going to incite Mormons to further hate and violence, for which I had plenty of evidence to file this morning when the sun was at noonday. And so I will read the part about the summary of conference. I talked to each speaker of the apostles and prophets with what they were clearly responding to me from all the filings that I've submitted and the previous 2 federal lawsuits for which they have been retaliating, and here we are. They don't tell us that in the primary song. They tell us to do what is right and let the consequences follow. They don't talk about doing what is right and the enemy retaliating against us for doing what is right. So, goes as follows. The defendant also wishes to recognize the prophet's comments in their talks directed at the defendant from his previous filings and lawsuits. President Oaks, 900 million is spelled it wrong and they didn't put it in blue. It is an estimated 0.1%, which is less than 2 mites. If you do not know your scriptures, you will miss some of the tongue-in-cheek that I give. And the church merely needs to recognize a welfare system administration after the leadership administration and have bishop storehouses for every stake around the world. Then other charities would donate to you instead of your feeble excuse to have to donate through them. Of course, you need to have watched their talk so that you understand what I'm talking about. Section 43, Elder Renland. Section 43 means Brigham Young is not authorized as successor to Joseph Smith. Section 107.22. This means we shouldn't be listening to you either. But instead, Mormons need to be taught that as Joseph Smith was chosen according to Numbers 12:6, likewise the Christ of Mormons, the man like Moses, Joseph Smith History 140, DNC 103:16, etc., is to be appointed in the same manner, and he would be recognized by his gift of translation of Paleo, Hebrew, and Egyptian. You really should follow your own counsel and stay in your lane, that of preaching Joseph Smith and his Jewish church. Gospel, technically. Elder Razband. You can lie to Mormons all you like about the keystone of your church being the Book of Mormon, but when you call the Book of Mormon another testament of Jesus Christ as a Christian publication, you expose your true keystone of the inverted pentagram on the doors of the Salt Lake Temple. of whose symbol is the Great Liar. Elder Anderson. The separation of the wheat from the tares is among Mormons, as with the Book of Mormon, talking about the church of the devil and the church of the Lamb, like the parable of the 10 virgins, not Mormons from non-Mormons. Elder Suarez, as I learned to pronounce yesterday, or the other day, whenever he spoke, from obey to hearken to full partnership, 3 question marks. You expect Mormons to believe that family organization authority can just be changed and that the past can remain in the past? So is Heavenly Mother missing and silent from text because she's an equal partner? Or is the church going all in as Christian? President Eyring, you have Mormons manifest their loyalty oath to the prophets, yet you still perpetuate the lie that manifest in Moroni 10:3-5 means a spiritual witness. President Ballard, 175th anniversary of the sex trafficking of pioneer women, rather than any of you bringing up the bicentennial year of the angelic visit to Joseph Smith next year for the day that shall burn as an oven. Elder Bednar. Oops. Wrong interpretation of the parable. Though well done on the background cultural practice, it actually has been fulfilled already, as Mormons have rebelled against their true Jewish king, Christ King, by refusing to leave in the prophesied Exodus in 2020, so that they could begin construction of the temple for the wedding of the Jewish Mormon king on 8 April 2024. Your misinterpretation helps Mormons fuel their rebellion. Elder Holland, your historical misinformation incites Mormons to their white supremacist hate and violence. The Therapeutae, a result of the Osirian congregations, turned into messianic armies to defend against the Romans, which surviving congregations were rounded up by Constantine and forced into a united order. There are dozens of 12 apostles with a teacher under the Therapeutae. Thus, the Gospels were written as Jewish prophecy, selected an example of the Therapeutae to tell their prophecy for 2017 to 2024. You really should stay in your lane, referred to Elder Renland. Oops, I forgot a period there. Elder Gong. If dreams are literal visitations by those who died, then my dream in 2008, in which the late President Gordon B. Hinckley appeared before me and gave me the key card to his office, would mean that I am the true restorer of Joseph Smith's Jewish Church, and in accordance with Nelson's first presidency statement in 2019 in response to the tithing whistleblower, stated their intentions to hand over all their wealth to the Christ upon his appearance in accordance with his interpretation of the parable of the talents. Make sure you don't forget to hand over to me the laundered money in the offshore accounts. I think that's going to happen. Elder Stevenson. Kevin is a perfect example of the damage you prophets commit upon Mormons. Kevin was ashamed of the Jewish gospel of Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon, as he lacked such knowledge to tell the truth to his peers, as you refuse to allow Mormons to study Mormonism and replace it with reading for a spiritual witness that must be in harmony with the prophets and misinformation. Elder Cook. Dum dum dum. Hello, Neo-Danite. Because of your family exposure, I did some research and found that Heber C. Kimball's claimed Freemasonry Lodge was Milner Lodge number 139 F and AM in Victor, New York. Unfortunately, they do not have any records of his becoming a Master Mason in the Scottish Rites Lodge, nor Yorkerites Lodge. Did I not put member? I don't have a member either. I forgot to put member. They didn't have records of him being a member or a Master Mason in the Scottish Rites Lodge, nor Yorkerites of Joseph Smith Sr., whose records show he was a Master Mason of the Lodge in Canandaigua, New York. Yet no records of any approval of Heber and the 5 other men's application to skip the Royal Ark rank. I found exclusive discovery information. No one else, I can't find anybody else who has presented this information. I discovered it last night doing the research. You got an exclusive from me. It shows in his Wikipedia page under Masonry, Victor Flats in red. I found it, and I found out that he went with 5 other men, as he claims. No records, it didn't happen, he lied. But I found it. Found the extra information. You got it exclusive from me. An interesting connection to Heber applying to the Warsaw Lodge Grand Master to approve the Nauvoo Lodge for Scottish Rites, as the mob for Joseph and Hiram Smith's assassination was from that same lodge, joined by John Taylor and Willard Richards of Brigham and Heber's 12 Apostles, who stayed behind after Danites escorted Joseph and Hiram to the jail. As my third great-grandfather's John Solomon Fulmer was a member of Joseph's Nauvoo militia, and was the only one not of that secret conspirator group to give Joseph his single-shot pistol. Why was John Taylor's watch hands removed? Is it because the damage was caused by the 6-shooter pistol given to Joseph by Cyrus H. Wheelock, which Joseph then gave the single shot to Hiram? Oakes's published book is too contradictory to be relied upon. Why did President Kimball attempt to clean up the crime scene evidence after it was learned the blood on the floor was Hiram's and not Joseph's? And wasn't it nice that your second great-grandfather trafficked Hiram's wife and son? It must have been so hard for Heber to coup the leadership positions to run the church without authority in Joseph's absence in 1838 to 1839. Can you tell the sarcasm in that? Elder Christofferson. Bicentennial of the first vision of Jesus to Joseph Smith, telling him Jesus is an abomination, rather than the 2023 bicentennial year of Nephi visiting Joseph Smith. You should have the footnote in the Joseph Smith papers corrected, as it leads to exposing more of the Danite conspiracy. Warning about the day that shall burn as an oven, and listed Old Testament prophecies, one of which was in Acts, referring to Deuteronomy 18:15 through 18, about the man like Moses, whom Joseph Smith calls the Christ, and identifies him in Doctrine and Covenants 103:16 as a future Mormon out of the great and abominable church that was to murder Joseph and usurp his church, requiring the need to have it restored. See also DNC 85:7 through 8. One mighty and strong. And this is for Nelson. And finally, additional comments from President Nelson. I did some earlier, but I'm not going to go over those. Higher law of Jesus? WTF. Not even Bruce R. McConkie understood Jesus as giving a higher law over the law of Moses. Jesus himself says he fulfilled the law of Moses, not destroyed it. So Jesus atoned for us, therefore we must repent by paying tithing atonement to the LDS Church. And OMG. 3 exclamation marks. You failed to translate correctly again? All caps, 3 exclamation marks. What is it, 4? No, there's 3. Okay. Unequally yoked to Jesus? Three exclamation marks, 3 question marks. Dear God, you really should consult with real scriptural scholars before humiliating yourself at the pulpit of conference. That's what you get for the quality of Mormon's education at BYU. Also directed to Oakes from his recent devotional talk. But clearly, you are anticipating your death, as it was obvious Oakes was being groomed to take over. And waiting for conference to release the Book of Mormon prophecy of the surviving Mormons after the 2022 midterm election fraud and climate change destruction, who make it to southern Illinois rather than Independence, Missouri, where the temple built by faithful Mormons who left during the Exodus of 2020 had finally been built, ready for the wedding and coronation of the Mormon Jewish Christ on 8 April 2024. Wait. You instead perpetuated the lie that the Book of Mormon is literal history and about the real Jesus with supernatural powers to fly down from outer space and announced his second coming is in the coming days, thus turning Mormons into a modern white supremacist Herman Cortez. He's the guy who went to the Aztecs and utterly destroyed their culture and burnt the records, the gold plates, the Aztec Egyptian gold plates. Smelted them down, destroying their history, destroying their culture, murdering the people, enslaving the people. And so, yeah, when the Book of Mormon is literal history and Jesus comes to them, that means that Jesus is telling them their culture and traditions and religion are wrong. That's what the Christians did to the native Indians of Americas. Okay, so yeah, they publicly declared their white supremacist racial bigotry and hatred, mingled with their seditious conspiracy to overthrow America and the Constitution, using the trigger words that all Mormons are programmed to respond to with hate and violence. So, yeah, that's the summary of conference.